Commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately under the public hearing agenda. The City of Des Moines is pleased to provide accommodations to individuals or groups with disabilities and encourages participation in city government. Please know that typical accommodations may be limited by emergency requirements as issued by the state of Iowa and the City of Des Moines. Tyler will do a roll call, please.
Abby Chungus.
Here.
Rocky Sposato.
Here.
Will Page.
Yes, here.
Johnny Alcivar.
Here.
Emily Webb.
Here.
Dory Briles.
Here.
Jan Freed. She's probably having some technical difficulties there. Kayla Berkson.
Driving here.
Lisa Howard.
Here.
Steve Wallace.
Here.
Carolyn Jennison.
Here.
Francis Bogus.
Here.
Greg Wattier.
Here.
Greg Jones.
Here.
That's all 14 members present.
Let's see if Jan's muted, so. I see that Jan's back in. We can hear you, Jan.
What?
We can hear you.
I can't get in. I can't, I'm not seeing I'm having to register and then I get kicked out. I don't know what the problem is.
We can hear you right now. Can you see we can hear you right now. Can you see the screen?
I can't see the screen. That's what I'm trying to find.
Okay.
Somehow I got kicked out and I'm not finding the screen. And when I register, it won't let me join. Hold on, let me see. I'm sorry, hold on. Maybe I'll just try again, hold on. Join. Sorry, everyone.
Do you want me to send you the link to the panelist link?
That might be helpful because I'm trying to join the webinar in progress and it's not letting me in. I'm just in a loop.
Eric, please don't send yours. Eric,
okay.
Please don't send yours. That won't help Jan. Jan, okay. I have resent your link.
Okay, hold on.
So if you check your email, you should see that there and then try that link to get in.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
It won't let me in. This is crazy. I keep getting...
Well, I think it's partially because you're already in the meeting. Somehow you're just not getting video. I wonder if you need to completely exit and rejoin.
Yeah, I'm not getting the video or I'm just stuck in this registration process.
But somehow your microphone is connected though, is what I mean.
Okay.
We're broadcasting right now.
I know.
Okay, I would recommend, Jan, this is Glory. I am the one who set up the Zoom meeting. My recommendation would be for you to go ahead and log off, go to your email, to the new link that I just resent you, and try that.
Yeah.
And this may take a moment, but go ahead and try that. I think that's best.
Okay. I did that, but I'll try it again.
Okay.
Otherwise, I can try to do it without seeing.
So you'll want to start by go ahead and end this meeting.
Oh,
well, go to your red end button and end this meeting, and then start all over.
You know, I am so sorry. See, I'm not even that far. I can't get in. I can't get past the registration. So, I can just try to do it without seeing, I guess. So we need to approve the minutes. So do I have a motion on the minutes?
This is Dory. I'll move approval of the minutes.
Thanks, Dory. Roll call.
Rocky Sposato.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Dory Briles.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Jan Freed.
Yes.
Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Francis Bogus.
Yes.
Greg Wattier.
Yes.
Abby Shungeth.
Yes.
And Greg Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Okay.
Hey, Jan, do you want to turn over the reading responsibilities to one of the vice chairs?
You know, that would be great. Dory, okay. Would you do this for me, please?
Would help if I was unmuted. So on the consent hearing items, we have a request from Mundo Pequeñito, LLC owner, 1922 Southwest 1st Street, represented by Guadalupe Castillo, for vacation of the west 6 feet of Southwest 1st Street between Columbus Avenue and Indianola Road. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to pull this from consent?
And this is Eric Lundy, senior planner. Anybody wanting to either raise their hand or use the *6 function, or I'm sorry, *9 to raise your hand.
And is there anyone on the board who wishes to pull this item from consent? If not, we'll move on to item 2, which is a request from Mid-American Energy, the purchaser, represented by Tyler Gartenberg, agent, for vacation of the following segments of street right-of-way in the vicinity of the 900 block of Southeast 15th Street to assemble property for development of an electrical substation. Adjoining property is owned by the city of Des Moines. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to hear this item and have it pulled from the consent agenda? Are there any board members who would like to have it pulled? If not, we'll move on to item 3 on the consent agenda, which is a request from Stephanie Swartz, owner, for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with Chapter 135, Sections 135, 9.2.4.b and 135, 9.3.1b for property located at 5816 Pleasant Drive to allow construction of an 820 square foot garage and bedroom addition to the east side of the existing house that would be 5 feet less than the minimum required 10 feet of side yard for a house type A in an N1A neighborhood district per section 135-2.4 13.3.A.5. Anyone in the public who would like to hear this item and have it pulled from the consent agenda?
And again, this is Eric Lundy. Raise your hand with the raise hand function or *9 on your phones.
If there are none, I would ask, are there any commissioners who would like to hear this item? Now we'll go on to item 4, which is a city-initiated request for review and approval of a public hearing site plan, Des Moines Animal Control Facility, for the following Type 2 design alternatives in accordance with Chapter 135, Sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 1441 Harriet Street to allow development of one-story, 16,905 square foot workshop warehouse type building with on-site parking lot for municipal animal control. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to have this item heard and pulled from the consent agenda? Are there any commissioners who would like to have this item pulled? So Eric, if you don't see anybody, I'll entertain.
Yeah, I don't see anybody, so I would imagine you can ask for a motion.
Yeah, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Dory, this is Carolyn. I move to approve.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Abby Chungus,
Yes.
Rocky Spozzato,
Yes.
Will Page,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Dory Briles,
Yes.
Kayla Berkson,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Francis Bogus,
Yes.
Greg Wattier,
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries 13-0.
Great. Now we'll go ahead to the public hearing part of the agenda. Item number 5 is continued from the August 20th, 2020 meeting, September 17th meeting, and the October 15, 2020 meetings of the Commission. Item 5 is the review and approval of items. Do you want me to read the whole thing that's on the agenda?
No, I think you're okay just saying the request.
The first paragraph.
Yeah, the number of requests in that location.
Okay.
There's parts A through F for that location.
So it's review and approval of items regarding the Market District in the vicinity of Southeast 4th Street and East Market Street, generally from the Des Moines River on the west to the Southeast 5th Street on the east, and from East Vine Street on the north to East Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway on the south.
Yes, Madam Chair. This is Eric Lundy, Senior City Planner. This item, as you had indicated, has been continued from a few previous meetings. One difference here that you should be aware of is that this meeting has now been also noticed for a preliminary plat. So if you see Part E, there's a preliminary plat that was submitted that's being included with these items that is related to the large-scale development plan, and I'll go over that. So that's different. The other thing is you were sent an agenda that has a revised language for Part F, and so I wanted to go over that. That includes the indication that the P2 public, civic, and institutional district, along with DX2, would be going to DX1. So we wanted to make sure that was included in the action. So that has been that was one of the substance of your correction on the agenda on this item. So I'm going to kind of go through the different parts here. The first part is a request to vacate Raccoon Street in a segment of North-South Alley south of Raccoon Street between East Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway. That would allow this entire block then to be kind of one piece of land. Then the next piece involves both the large scale development plan area, which you see outlined in gold there. That is also the same area as a amendment to the plan DSM, creating our tomorrow plan element of the market district master plan. So the large scale development plan would be also considered as a piece of that market district master plan, as it's an element of the comprehensive plan DSM. And then this is the area for the preliminary plat that we just mentioned. And then this is the area of the zoning boundary. You can see there's two separate separate areas that are being zoned to different designations. So there's a little bit of a boundary here between those two areas that you can see on this map. And I'll have another map that went with the roll call that kind of shows that maybe a little better with colors. This was the roll call back in July that initiated this process for these things. In addition, some of the way they're listed on the agenda indicates whether they were city initiated or whether they were developer initiated. This is the map that accompanied that roll call. So you can see the lighter purple is going to the DXR zoning, and the blue would be going to the DX1 zoning. I'm going to go through a couple of the sheets of the market district plan. These were sent out with your packet. I don't want to really get into a lot of detail along with this, but I do want to cover a couple things. This is the kind of the existing situation in that area. This is probably the most crucial sheet of the plan. This shows kind of the future uses contemplated, and if you see this hatched area across here, that represents the viewshed corridor protection area, and that goes hand in hand with the proposed text amendment, which I will also show you here in a moment, that will allow consideration of variation or design alternatives to allow development that would go higher than the maximum heights designated by Chapter 135. So in addition, one of the conditions that was recommended to be added to the large scale development plan was designating some height maximums for each of the blocks listed here. You can see the blocks being numbered on the large scale development plan, and over here on the left is a chart or a table that correlates to those block numbers for max building heights when they were outside the viewshed corridor. And that also is related to consideration of design alternative when it's in the large scale development plan area. Of note, you should note that the large scale development plan is establishing a framework for street connectivity in the area. And one of the things you'll notice is this one does not connect through to ML King. They're showing, again, a vision for the proposed uses that would be in this area. The large scale development plan also then contemplates utilities and kind of an overall site plan on sheet 4. The green areas represent public realm green infrastructure. That's one of the innovative aspects of this large scale development plan. This shows more of the utility plan itself for the sewers and the water. This is a model that, again, the view shed protection area was based on this modeling that was provided by the developer, and also worked with city staff in our IT department to develop. As you can, this is a view from in the model from home plate based on a form model of kind of a maximum type build with the capital in the background, so you can see where the capital is being able to be viewed through the view shed corridor. This is some massing that adds to that based on, you know, if it was a maximum build out of those prisms. This is a view, kind of a bird's eye view over the area. So looking up above, you can see the Capitol in the background. Again, that view shed plane is expressed in that form of the building shown in that view shed corridor. Again, this is representative of what is shown in the large scale development plan. This is an example of the other view from the Capitol looking down through the East Locust Street corridor. And then this kind of shows looking the other direction with the view shed protection area shown in that dark blue is that kind of that maximum plane of the view shed corridor for the protection. This is the proposed text language. You should have had this in your packet. This outlines a different approach to the process when there's a large-scale development plan in place, giving the ability for type 2 and type 1 and type 2 design alternatives, depending upon whether it exceeds the heights for the district outside of the view shed protection area, and then of course within the view shed protection area. The other thing that's being recommended here tonight is that view shed protection area be legally described and made as part of the rezoning as a condition, as a maximum plane of height. And I'm just showing you this again so you can sort of see that corridor. So outside of the corridor, we still want to adhere to these maximum heights. There is a design alternative process afforded by the change in the text to Chapter 135 based on reference to each of the given blocks that are shown here with maximum heights. Again, that's in your staff report, listed out in the staff recommendation. So basically, a lot of things can be done administratively as long as they adhere to the large-scale development plan that would be approved. This is the preliminary plat, which again is trailing a little bit behind the large-scale development plan, which was initially put together for the rezoning process, but now the preliminary plat has caught up with this process. So it is also having to be compatible with the large-scale development plan based on Chapter 135. This is, again, existing conditions. This is an area of the plat boundary. Showing references to the block numbers. This block is not contained in the plat in this parcel. This is the base document for the preliminary plat. This shows the public improvements along with that. This shows rough general grading to achieve the improvements in the plat. Utilities that would be part of that. And then this is the landscape area. A lot of that landscaping is part of the streetscape and goes hand in hand with the green infrastructure. One thing that should be noted is that the preliminary plat document does have to be found basically compatible to the large scale development plan based on chapter 135. So if you compared the two documents, they should generally be compatible with each other. Final plats would come about in phases as part of this large scale development plan and preliminary plat. And as soon as the preliminary plat were to be approved, the city can begin reviewing construction documents for public improvement plans within these rights of way for the green infrastructure, the street construction, the utilities. All of that can begin to be reviewed under the preliminary plat approval. This is the staff report. If you see the highlighted area, that's that was the change to the staff report that was sent out. One of the changes that was also added to existing zoning information. I want to highlight, I kind of want to get to the crux of it and get into the staff recommendation itself. And then if you have any questions as a commission, you're certainly welcome to ask me. I'm trying to move through this as quickly as we can with a long agenda. Part A, we are recommending approval of the vacation of that segment of Raccoon Street in that north-south segment of alley. It is anticipated, I should point out, that there might be some other small segments that would need to come in front of the commission in the future to fulfill the overall preliminary plat and large-scale development plan. Part B, staff is recommending that approval of the amendment to the Chapter 135 regulations for the capital dominance area to modify the design alternative allowances there for type 1s and type 2s. Part C, the staff is recommending approval of the developer initiated large scale development plan and the city initiated rezoning be found in conformance with the plan DSM, creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan, which includes the market district master plan as an element. Then part D, staff is recommending approval of that developer initiated large scale development plan for the area and the adoption of that document as a revision to the market district of the East Village master plan element of the plan DSM, creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan, subject to the addition of the table that was shown on sheet 3, which at the time this was drafted was not in hand. So that's been updated, and you saw that was on the document now with what's submitted, indicating that the maximum building heights outside the identified viewshed corridor with the following heights for the corresponding block numbers. And you can see that listed there. Then staff is recommending approval of the submitted preliminary plat itself as shown for the market district, subject to the following conditions: compliance with all administrative review comments, including all the review of the details of the plat document, indication of the plat that cul-de-sac that was pointed out at Southeast 3rd, south of Raccoon Street would either be a public or private with any final plat approval. So that would allow that to be platted either as a public street or created as a lot for a private street. Then also indication that stormwater management would be provided either shown with the submitted design or with detention volumes accommodated by nearby regional facilities to be constructed by the city of Des Moines. And in the body of the report, it was indicated that there's a regional basin facility to the east of here that will go online once it's developed through the capital improvements program for the city. So depending on the timing of projects, they will either benefit from that directly immediately, or that will be accommodated with the design that's shown in the plat. Then Part F pertains to the zoning, and that was updated with the highlighted area to add that P2 district as well. Staff is recommending approval of the initiated request to rezone those areas from west of Southeast 2nd from DX2 to DXR, and then east of Southeast 2nd from DX2 and P2 to DX1 downtown, with the limitation of a maximum height for buildings that is legally described based on a view corridor model established by the large-scale development. And so that, again, points back to the document of the large-scale development plan as a basis for compliance. We did get comments over the period of these continued hearings from the initial notifications. So you do see the one opposed to the Raccoon Street vacation, and I can show that again if you want to see that. This is a consent map for the plat area. This is a card received on the rezoning. And one of the comments not in favor on the rezoning. Two more cards in favor. Another card in favor. This represents the consent map for the rezoning notice. Are there any questions for staff at this point?
Eric, this is Will Page here. Could you put up the image of the view shed elevation, please?
Like the initial one?
Well, that would be helpful too.
Okay.
And this one is the proposed one. Is this the proposed one? No, this is the original one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a model that was shown initially, yes.
And now let's take a look, and let's look at this for a minute or two. One of my questions is the massing to the, I'll call it to the left and to the right, rather than to get confused about directions. Is the massing to the left and the massing to the right in this previous design the same as the massing as shown tonight?
This document, or this image, is going to show more like a
Eric, if I could respond. So Will, the yellow massing that was shown on the previous slide matches what was shown previously to the commission when we did the workshop in August.
Yes.
The blue is reflecting the maximum heights that were in the staff report on a per block basis. So you can see the yellow massing underneath that. So it basically, the maximum heights that we designed for each block or specified for each block on the plan essentially authorizes the model to be built. Now that goes all the way to lot lines. So that's why we have the model and the plan to refer to for compliance. But there are some areas, like for example, if we go to a little bit higher view, some of that model's taller than what the the dark blue will allow. So the dark blue would govern and the lighter blue would govern. Those are the maximum heights allowed.
Could you go back then to the view right before this one? Yes, so the blue is what's proposed, and it looks as if the blue has come in from the left to the right, and the blue has come in from the right to the left, and in terms of increasing the height as well. Is that correct?
Well, it basically puts a maximum height over the entire block, Will. And basically, we have no way of going and measuring every point on every building in their model and writing that into a height overlay. So we will jointly use these maximum heights and essentially, general compliance with their model to evaluate. They've indicated that, this would be the absolute maximum in the blue if the entire block was the maximum height. And they've indicated that the likelihood of that occurring is not there, and they can speak to that later. But this was the best that we could do to come up with a maximum height on a block by block basis that still preserved the view corridor.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. My concern is that it ends up looking like the building, that the Capitol building has been framed as a picture rather than to have a more natural, as it were, massing on either side of it. Thanks for answering the question.
Yep.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners at this time? If not, if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this item, please state your name and address.
There will be somebody from the development group. I would want them to speak first. It looks like somebody's got their hand raised here. I have a presentation loaded up for them, basically.
Thank you, Eric.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is, commissioners, this is Paul Hayes, president of JSC Properties, the developer of this area, address 350 East Locust Street in Des Moines. We're very happy to be taking this important step, working both with the city and Mid-American Energy as part of what we see as really a transformational step in downtown Des Moines on the east side of the river. Before I introduce our design group that will walk through some of the features of the area, I do want to thank city staff for both their thoroughness and their diligence. And we really do appreciate their efforts in shepherding us through this first large-scale development plan and through this planning and zoning process. They've done a great job, and we do appreciate it. And with that, I'd like to ask Jim McRae from Design Workshops to go through the short presentation that we have.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Hopefully can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Jim McRae, 1390 Lawrence, Denver, Colorado. So I'm a consultant to Paul, to JSC, urban design, landscape architecture, part of Design Workshop. I have a short presentation. Eric gave you a very thorough overview of the project. And so I will just hit on some of the highlights of the plan, the master plan that we have developed, plus the public improvements that we're currently working on. Next slide, Eric. As Eric mentioned and Paul, our plan is intended to build out of all of the work the foundational thinking that has been talked about for many years for this area in the plan, DSM, and other studies. And I would just all the primary goals for redevelopment of this area, that being that the district really should complete and enhance the urban grid, which we're doing through the public improvements, that through those improvements that we make sure that this is a very walkable, friendly, safe environment, that we're incorporating transit, and I'll speak a little bit more about that, as well as incorporating some of the bike facilities that are around us, and so we can help to complete. And that we really make this a live, work, play, so to speak, opportunity to improve the market district, but also I think improve the lives of people, through perhaps a healthier lifestyle. Next slide. So as Paul mentioned, this is really a cooperation of the city and Mid-Am and JSC to envision how to really catalyze this industrial area into an urban district. So it's been a privilege to work with everybody to get to this point and hopefully move this forward. But it does take quite a bit of effort, and everybody has to sort of be aligned in the vision. So we're very happy to be part of that and feel like our ideas are in fact very much aligned to the goals of the city as a whole. Next slide. I put this in not knowing that Eric would go through a lot of detail, but simply said that our focus has been principally on the area inside the red dashed line. The area to the left towards the river is the future park. So our efforts really have not included any of that area. It's just been pretty much 2nd Street on the left over to kind of touching 6th Street to the right. And then from north, just south of the rail corridor, we're going to install or extend Vine Street across 4 blocks and then extend down southward to MLK or MLK. Next slide. We were very much aware and agree that urban districts need to solve some of the housing challenges that most cities have. So the plan has envisioned in the kind of yellowish brown color, a series of residential opportunities here, combined with the purple areas being perhaps employment. The hope here is to try to find as great a balance between the jobs and housing, because if we can, we believe that the impact of cars can be lessened, which would certainly make this a much more pedestrian-oriented district, which is the ultimate goal. But it also includes other things like some retail and retail on the primary streets per your new zoning ordinance. So Market Street that runs east and west through the heart of the project, as well as other streets, 4th and 6th Street. Next slide. As part of the goal to create new street typologies, we certainly have taken that to heart. I would say this, that we've got a variety of different streets and street typologies. They all have been sort of run through the analysis of traffic and traffic management, can all sort of do the functions that are necessary for moving cars through the district as well as emergency vehicles. I'd simply say that the darkest red line that runs east and west in the plan, that's Market Street. The idea of that street is really a very fundamental one, which is to connect the future Two Rivers Park along the river to hopefully someday that detention facility that's off to the east. And so we've seen that particular street as an opportunity to have an iconic streetscape, a signature streetscape that you have not seen in your downtown, and I will speak more to that in a moment. The brighter red that runs north and south is 4th Street. 4th Street is really our primary multimodal street. It's the street that carries for cars, pedestrians, but it also has protected bike lanes and is also accommodating transit, where we have positioned some future bus stops along the street. So it's a very important street in the context of not just the district, but East Village as a whole. And then the other streets, I think, are what I would say kind of more in the residential realm in terms of their scale and level of appointments. We think befitting of sort of the redevelopment vision for this area. Next slide. This is a little hard to see, but this is a current reflection of our design on the landscape or streetscapes associated to the project. I'll speak in a little bit more detail with some other visuals, but I would just simply say that each street, the streets running in north-south orientations will have a variety, a certain palette of materials, whereas the streets running east and west generally will have a slightly different palette, although very complementary. The street trees, there'll be a variety of trees because we do not want monocultures. We want, a diversity of trees for really the health and vibrancy of this community in this district. And we are following and have been working very closely with the city on making sure that the design is compliant to all the current standards and requirements. Next slide. As Eric mentioned, from the very beginning, we felt like the streets and the public realm could be an opportunity not just for beautiful streets and pedestrian orientation, but also serve for environmental purpose, that being in the form of water quality and detention. And so, as you probably have seen, a lot of the streets and the landscape areas along the streets are really functioning for water quality and also have been designed for detention, that being for the private development areas. And as Eric mentioned, we're currently looking at an option for that, but effectively the water quality component we would incorporate and have in this plan, regardless of the outcome of the future detention pond. Next slide. So I have a couple of visuals here just to show you the kind of character. This particular view is 4th Street. So 4th Street looking off to the north towards East Village. In the distance, the cross street would be Market. So it's just simply to say that 4th Street, as I mentioned, is a multimodal street. So you have 2 lanes of traffic with on-street parking down the street in certain areas. In this view on the left side, there's a provision for a far side bus stop, kind of a parklet, for seating and bus shelter. Adjacent to that or just behind it would be a protected bike lane to make the bike movement through the district more safe and convenient for bike riders. And then a landscape area that would be a rain garden, and then a sidewalk that would be adjacent to the retail or commercial activities on the ground plane. So it's an idea about this incorporation of water quality as really part of the landscaping and the street trees throughout the district. Next slide. This is a view of Market Street, the street I mentioned that we see as an opportunity to create a signature street for really not just the Market District, but we think for Des Moines as a whole. So we're in a position here looking to the west towards the park between 2nd and 3rd Streets. A couple things. The street as a profile, we thought it would be more interesting to envision this street being able to be used for events and activities, whereby portions of blocks might be blocked off for concerts, summer activities to take on that sort of festival street appeal. And in the context of that, we really wanted to make sure that the street and the signature of it really was minimal. And what I mean by that is instead of having typical kind of curves, vertical curves, we have rolled curves here. So effectively, as you drive down the street, it'll look more like, I guess, a plaza that you're driving through, less a street with sidewalks on it. So the intent is to kind of utilize the small little design aspects like that to create a signature, to also encourage between streets, sort of what we call the mid-block condition, which you see where the sort of large stone benches are here, is an opportunity to create kind of little plazas. As people walk down the street from one block to the next, they can, kind of gather and sort of sit and work and, meet friends and whatnot. So they become little opportunities for public engagement and social activity. And then finally, as you can see over the top of this, there's a thing called a catenary lighting design idea, which is essentially some poles with lights that are strung across the street to provide the much more interesting visual quality. You can go to the next slide, which would be really made up of this whole catenary system of pendant. Go to the next slide. You can see in the foreground this idea of what we call festoon lighting, which is these kind of romantic sort of lights that you see in restaurants and other parts of the world if you've traveled, that this would sort of symbolize the sort of mid-block, the kind of mini plaza spaces that we would have along each block of market. And then off in the distance, you can see some pendant lights, some lights that'll literally shine down on the street, providing this kind of almost light, this ceiling of light, if you will, that would be very different than any of the other streets, which we will light very much like other parts of East Village with standard street poles and fixtures. Next slide. This is a view of Elm Street. So we're about next to the park, looking eastward down the street. This is a smaller scale street, but it's an important street because we wanted this and felt that this would be more like a residential street you might see in an old neighborhood, you know, in a major metropolitan city. So it's a little bit of a garden street, but again, it has all the same provisions for traffic and on-street parking. The rain gardens or bioswales that will again take the water from the streets, from the private developments, and use the landscape to help purify, to cleanse that water, which is obviously good for the environment, good for the river where the water will ultimately end up. And so, but it has a much more residential sort of scale and feel than does Market. And that's one of the aspects of our plan here, is that variety is a good thing. We really do want streets to feel different, because I think people do appreciate that, but very walkable, very safe, nevertheless. Next slide. So finally, the last view is a view from the park looking, again, eastward. You can see Market Street to the left and portion of Elm, 2nd Street here in the foreground that bends and turns into Elm Street. You know, the hope that Market Street really is kind of an extension into the park. Although we're not designing the park, the hope would be that the pedestrian lighting systems, the furniture, would really make a nice visual connection to that park someday. And that section of Market could really be an extension of the park in terms of activities, as I was mentioning before. So with that, I will, I guess, turn it over to you, Eric. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I get the commission can ask any questions, I guess, at this point.
Eric, is there anyone else to speak in favor of this tonight?
Possibly. You probably want to ask them to raise their hands using the raise hand function or *9.
Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time?
I just wanted to say, this is Jan, and I am listening. I can hear, but I don't have the video. So I just want to let you know that I'm on the line. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this item? Please raise your hand or dial *9.
Hello, Dory. This is Greg. Wautier. I think I have a question. It might be for staff, but it might also be for the design team. This is a fantastic project. I can't say enough about the work and the ideas. The only potential concern I have is, given a really good design team like we have, I wouldn't worry at all about what looked like a skill saw slicing through masses. So I guess what I'm saying is, how do we just ensure ourselves, and Will kind of alluded to it, as other design teams or, you know, come in and work in the district maybe, that we don't have just these vertical swatches of vision angles through, that there's some sort of more organic stepping, sliding, something. Is there a way, maybe Mike, it's a question for you, is there a way to just make sure that gets done right?
Yeah, Greg, this is Mike Ludwig, Deputy Director of Development Services. And I'll let the developer also share their thoughts on it. But again, the blue massing was the absolute maximum heights for a zoning purpose, right? But clearly in all of our discussions that we've had, and they can speak to the discussions they've had with our economic development staff. I know Ryan Moffett is here as well. I don't believe there's any intent to build out everything out to the maximum height for the entire width of the block, the entire area of the block. We have the model that they provided that is a part of this large scale development plan. And so as individual projects come in, we will compare those projects to that model and be very conscious of the fact that, you know, we're not wanting it to be a very, you know, like you said, a skill saw, you know, frame around the Capitol there. We were looking for more of a transition, but that was the best that we could do to communicate the maximum heights that could be allowed there. Without those heights, I mean, DX1 zoning would allow 200 feet or more, 225 feet or more buildings. And so we had to come up with a way of trying to match it to the model. But short of identifying every point on every building in a conceptual model that they showed, what we showed in the blue was the best we could do to come up with kind of identifying maximum heights. So we will certainly compare projects to the model that was submitted, those yellow building forms. And they won't have to be exact matches to that by any means, but certainly one of the visions that is conveyed by that model is that it is a tiered, or, you know,
it's organic,
frame. As you move from the view corridor away, it's getting taller. So I would speak to that, and then maybe Paul Hayes or their design consultant could confirm those conversations, and Ryan could chime in as well.
Oh, I guess I can unmute myself. This is Paul Hayes. I think two things were top of mind as we started this process. One was stormwater management, given the area of the city that it's in, and the importance of cleaner water to the improvement of the river and a number of other things, and just the importance of that in terms of what people would like to see. And two was the view shed. And we have spent quite a bit of time talking to both ends of the view shed, and believe that they're comfortable. I think one of the things that will avoid the everybody building to the maximum, because if everybody builds to the maximum, that tells me that the demand is even for taller buildings. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think one of the things that will impact that is we've got some say over the design that the designs that come to us in terms of selling the property. And our concern is that overall, at the end of the day, we've got a great looking development, and so we're incented to keep appearances away from just everything the same height, keeping in mind that the current provisions also provide for everything the same height at 75 feet. So we're trying to add some various. I think the other thing too is that we're 20 years smarter as far as technology, and we learned that, and it's not part of the presentation, but if things were built to 75 feet along the park, the view of the Capitol would be obliterated. So I think we're trying to come to a good compromise. That's good for the state of Iowa. That's good for the view from Principal Park, and is good for this area in terms of its future development. So do I know what's going to happen? Absolutely not. But I think if you look over to the Central Business District, you see all different heights, even though they could be as tall as they want to be. So I think that I think the word organic was mentioned, and I think that will be naturally what happens. If for no other reason than architects want their buildings to look different than the one next to it.
Thank you, Paul.
Madam Chair, Jim McCray is on as well to respond to that.
Yeah, Eric, I think Paul said everything very, very well. I think, we've done a lot of this type of work over the years in different cities. And I think, Market's going to have some, obviously, say in sort of the heights and the types of uses. Architects will certainly, want their blocks to, differentiate. You've got a zoning ordinance that really focuses on the sort of form, so that I think will favor, through your ability to, sort of manage the urban form and recognize that, obviously this model is just a simple massing. It by no means really showcases all the sort of fenestration, the qualities of architecture that will make those masses that are, very conceptual now really more organic, right? And play of shadows and lights and windows and different roof planes. And I suspect that, even as we go higher in these buildings, that people really love the opportunity to be outdoors. So we're finding a lot more, outdoor deck spaces on residential buildings these days, rooftop gardens. And so they naturally, by that virtue, take on some organic quality and stepping that simply can't be reflected at this point in a massing study.
If there are no other questions from commissioners, is there anyone who wishes to speak against this item? If so, please state your name and address.
I don't see anybody raising their hand.
Oh. Okay, thanks, Eric. Well, at this time, commissioners, what are your thoughts?
Are we going to close the public hearing, Dory?
Oh, I'm sorry, I should close the public hearing and ask commissioners for your comments.
Dory, I'll move staff. This is Rocky.
Great. Thank you, Rocky.
Start with roll call. Dory Browse?
Yes.
Jan Freed?
Yes.
Kayla Bergson?
Yes.
Lisa Howard?
Yes.
Steve Wallace?
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison?
Yes.
Francis Bogus?
Yes.
Greg Wadier?
Yes.
Greg Jones?
Yes.
Abby Chungith?
Yes.
Rocky Spozzato?
Yes.
Will Page?
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar?
Yes.
And Emily Webb?
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Dory?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah.
We're now ready.
Dory, You're doing a great job. Do you want to keep going, or do you want me to?
Oh, if you want to go back, you bet, Jan.
Are you okay with that? I mean,
absolutely.
Okay, we did some prep today, and that's why. But Dory, thank you very much. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on item 6, and we have a request from Tiger Knight, represented by Barry Nelson, for the following regarding the property at 1210 and 1220 Army Post Road. And Bert.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the commission, item number 6 is a request to rezone these 2 parcels from the RX1 district to the MX3 district. The subject property is located along the south side of Army Post Road, a couple blocks to the west of Southwest 9th Street. There's a small portion of the property that has to have the land use plan amended. That's this map that's on your screen right now. We would be amending this small area from low density residential to the community mixed use. And then this map here shows the overall property that would be rezoned. As I mentioned, they're wanting to rezone it from RX1 district to MX3 district. This stretch of the Army Post Road corridor was designated as the RX1 district with the new zoning map and zone ordinance last year. It was designated as RX1, which is the least intense of our commercial districts, because most of the properties along this stretch are fairly small in size, and there's quite a few in residential uses scattered in between, as you can see on the map here where my mouse is moving around, some single family houses along the Army Post Road corridor. So that was why these properties were designated as RX1. As I'll get to shortly, we feel that given the size of this property, that an MX3 district would be appropriate, but we're recommending that the uses be limited. Here's a sketch that shows what they would be rezoning to the MX3 district. Little back information, they recently did a plata survey to divide off a small portion of the south side of the lot so that they can put a house along West Street. This property has also been to the Board of Adjustment in the last 2 years. They got approvals to do a event center there, but that never panned out. They also went through the process of having a site plan approved for that event center use, but again, they didn't move forward with that use. So now I'm going to show you some site photos. There's currently a modular home setting on the west portion of the lot. They're going to be moving this to that newly created lot along West Street. And here are some more photos. You can see they're currently using the property for a lawn care business, which currently is a zoning violation, but if they get rezoned to MX3 district, they would be able to have the lawn care business, but they would have to keep any trailers and equipment and materials stored inside. Here are some more photos along the east edge of the property. Then this is looking along the entire property. And another view of the house. So as I mentioned, given the size of the lot, we do believe that the MX3 district is appropriate. We've recommended this list of uses here be prohibited. I'll just go through them quickly. Animal boarding, a bar, bail bonds, delayed deposit service, pawnbroker, sign for general advertising, vehicle sales and service category, including fuel sales, vehicle sales, vehicle rental, and vehicle maintenance repair, and then any use that involves the sale or service of alcohol. And just to limit our discussion tonight, really, condition 1G is the only part of our staff recommendation that the applicant does not agree to. They would like the ability to have some vehicle sales as well as vehicle repair uses on that property. So that's really the main point of discussion tonight. The other 2 conditions are just standard, that they need to comply with the site plan and building codes, and that no commercial use of the property shall be allowed until a certificate of occupancy has been issued. Now I'll leave these cards up here. We had 4 cards come back and 1 letter from the Somerset Neighborhood Association. So while I have these on the screen now, this is probably a good time for any questions from the commission.
Any questions for Bert from the commission? Is the applicant?
Yes.
Is the applicant online?
Yeah, I saw Barry Nelson and his consultant Ed Arper both on. I'll allow them to talk.
Right. Yes. And please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Barry Nelson. I'm president of Tiger Knight. I live at 13947 Oak Brook Drive in Urbandale.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so this property currently has 3 open, either site plan permit or building permits as I am improving the property. The house is going on the back lot that we split off this spring. That permit took much longer than I anticipated because they are deeming it a new build instead of, moving a modular home in. So that property will be completely re-sided, re-roofed. They poured the basement yesterday. They took the forms off today as quickly as I can get it moved. I bought the building 4 years ago. I first started trying to find tenants that matched the nature of the building and the size of the building because it was designated warehouse. That several of the ideas didn't make it, got shot down. Then I tried to start finding tenants that matched the C2 zoning. Then that got changed in December. So it seems like I'm trying to hit a moving target. I would like to just try to get back the C2 because of the size of the building and the parking lot. Would like to get back to zoning uses that match a building of this size and nature, which is why I bought it. I am improving it. We have an open site plan. We have 2 open building permits. There are trusses sitting outside. Those are going on the garage. Building materials outside. We are actively got 3 projects going on this site as we speak. I saw the cards that came back. I think it's kind of funny that one that came back negative has been putting his debris on my pile for me to take care of. The neighborhood commission that came back, I understand his concerns, but we are under construction and I'm trying to get all this done at the same time. And with that, I'll wait for questions or answer any issues.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Nelson from the commission?
Mr. Nelson, this is Rocky on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Have you tried to meet with the neighborhood association to have a conversation?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
I sent out the letters that I didn't know that they felt this way, number one, until I read the letter. So no is the answer. I did send out a letter to everyone on the list that the city sent for the neighborhood outreach program. So if someone would like me to meet with them or if I should meet with them, I don't have a problem with that. I think they just don't understand everything we're doing with this property right now to improve.
Hello, this is Greg Wattier with the commission. Staff, when they presented, said that they thought the core issue was going to be that you would be fine as the applicant with all the items except for maybe 1G. Is that accurate, or are there what are the items with staff recommendations that concern you?
So can you hear me again? I'm just making sure.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we can.
1G. The C2 uses that I had 4 years ago when I bought the property allowed for an auto dealership and vehicle repairs. So now with RX1, that's removed. I am fine with everything on this list excluding, and I have no plans to put an auto repair in here or vehicle or an auto dealership, basically. I do have a tenant that details cars and would like the opportunity to sell a car now and then. And if without an auto dealership license, you have to register it with the state. You have to pay the taxes. The auto dealerships get around all that because they have an auto dealership license. So my new site plan that I'm working on now puts in all the curbs and everything that a auto dealership would need to meet the DOT regulations for auto dealerships. They have to have curb stops and, you know, bonding and all that type of stuff. So it is not my intention to put in auto repair or auto dealership, but I don't understand why I have to remove those from the use of a property this size for future down the road when it is in MX3. So my only contention with 1G, and I'm fine with the rest, by the way, my only contention with 1G is I'd like to leave in vehicle sales and auto repair. This building, half of it has 14-foot sidewalls, perfect for lifts to lift cars, that type of stuff. However, if the commission deems it that you don't want vehicle sales or repair here, I am willing to forgo that and agree to to leave that on this list of excluded things. I'm just saying I would prefer not to exclude those unless I have to, but I have no plans to put any of that in here as we speak at all or in the future.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Mr. Nelson? Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the applicant? Does anyone raise their hand or
I am not seeing any other hands at this time, Jan.
Okay, okay. All right, well, it's time to close the public hearing.
Did you ask if anybody was opposed to it?
Oh, sorry. Is anyone opposed to this proposal?
All right, and there is one hand, Mitch.
Oh, there is a hand. Okay, all right. Please state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Mitch Harris, 1508 McKinley. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. We are in agreement with the city's recommendations, but we would like to see item G left in. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm with Watrous South Neighborhood Association.
Okay. Could you repeat that, please, sir? You're in favor, but
we're in favor with the city's recommendations, but we want to make sure that G is included.
Meaning, meaning there's a prohibition on car sales and auto repair?
Correct.
And you're representing your neighborhood?
Right. Watrous South Neighborhood Association Vice President.
Okay, good. Questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition or voice a concern? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Discussion from the commission.
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy. Since there was an opposition, I think that the applicant needs a rebuttal opportunity.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Yes, thank you very much, Eric. Okay. Applicant, do you want to address that?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to hear why. I'm just asking why. I mean, I have a giant parking lot that holds 50 cars. I would like to hear from them why they would like G left in there.
Sure. This is Bert Ross, planner for the city of Des Moines. The reason that we left that in there was we feel that there's quite a few other vehicle display lots in this area, and once there gets to be that critical mass, it starts to impact the overall character of the corridor. And we've also seen other vehicle lots when they're on or other vehicle sales uses when they're on lots of this size or smaller. They don't have the room to park their cars in within the designated display areas, and they become unattractive nuisances.
Okay, I was kind of looking for why the guy who raised his hand, Mitch, was against it.
I don't believe the applicant has the opportunity to cross-examine the witnesses in this case.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing. And commission, what's your discussion?
Madam Chair, this is Johnny Alcivar.
Okay,
I think from my experience in the South Side, I think one of the things we can agree on with Mr. Harris from Watrous South is that I think we have enough auto sales and repair places along the South Side corridors. So I would agree with staff, with Birch specifically, on the fact that we have plenty of car sales and repair shops along Army Post Road as well as Southeast 14th. So I just wanted to share that with the commission, as I would support moving forward with staff recommendation as listed, including item G.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this item? You want to make a motion, Johnny?
Sure, I'll make a motion to go with staff recommendation, approve staff, including item G.
Thank you. Tyler?
Jan Freed,
Yes.
Kayla Berkson,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Francis Bogus,
Yes.
Gray Wadier,
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Abby Chungith,
Yes.
Rocky Spazzato,
Yes.
Will Page,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
and Dory Briles.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Thank you. Now we're ready for item number 7. Request from KH Partners, represented by Rick Hickman, for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for type 2 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135, sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 1804 27th Street to allow construction of an 480 square foot, 1-story garage addition to the north of the existing 2-story house with a 15.9 foot front yard setback from Whitmer Street that would be 21.6 feet less than the minimum 37.5 foot average requirement per section 135-2.16.3.a.3. Jason.
Chair, members of the commission, Jason Van Essen with the city's planning staff. This is an aerial identifying the subject property on the southwest corner of 27th Street and Whitmer Street. Show a few photographs, front facade facing or looking towards the west on 27th. Working our way around the corner, looking at the north side of the property. Existing driveway, tuck under garage. Site plan provided by the applicant showing the footprint of the proposed garage. As the chair read in the agenda heading, we are discussing relief or a type 2 design alternative for the extending into that required setback. So that'll be the focus of what we look at here. You can see the building, they're proposing a 15.9 foot setback. The calculated average for this side on the Whitmer Street is 37.5 feet. So a little bit of a about 21 or so feet difference. Building elevation drawings. mostly showing brick. The only thing I'll hit in the staff recommendation, we are recommending that west elevation you can see at the bottom of the screen be sided with brick as well. We've had contact with the applicant and they're agreeable with that. And my understanding is that actually was their initial intention, and there was a change in the drawings. In your packet, you got a copy of the staff report. In there, we always include all of the criteria for reviewing type 2 design alternatives. I can come back to it if there's any questions, but I'll skip through that. Staff, we have reviewed this against that criteria. We do believe that there is merit to what they're proposing. They are in a corner lot. There's not a lot of opportunity to provide a garage elsewhere on the site. There's also some grade challenges that you saw in those photographs. So we are recommending approval. I have a list of conditions here. I won't read through them since the applicants agreed to them. Response map, we did have one person come back, contact staff in opposition. This is the email that they provided. In general, or in summary, I think their comments are more focused on neighborhood character and historic preservation and the potential impact that they feel that the addition would have on the character of that house. Happy to answer any questions the commission might have.
Questions for Jason?
Hello, Jason. This is Greg Wattier. So I'm looking at this actually from the perspective of, I guess it would be Whitmer Street. And I can understand the neighborhood or the person's concern, you know, about building a garage out. I guess that would be to the north, if I have my bearings right. Yes. Which really would, you can help me with the math, but would that be like 20 feet out in front of the adjacent neighbors' houses? I mean, they all seem fairly lined up along Whitmer there, back a very similar setback. And this would, for all intents and purposes, kind of hide that street or hide that front yard area. You follow my kind of question or concern? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I do. And that's something that we as staff talked about. And I think what led us to feeling comfortable making the recommendation of approval is really that garage is going to be at basement level. And so yeah, it will stick up some. But
can you show me their elevations again? Are they keeping that window on the north? I forgot. Can you show me their elevation?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
I feel better about that. Okay.
And you can see in that elevation where the grade comes in on the sides. So it's probably, you know, the grade shows about to the top of the overhead door.
I appreciate that it's not the same width of the house. It's tucked back. And okay, I'm good now. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Jason?
I
Is
just
the
have
applicant on? Oh, I'm sorry, Will. Go ahead.
No, I'll make my comment during the commission in response to the preservation aspect.
Oh, okay, thank you. Is the applicant online?
Yes, he is, and I just he unmuted. So, Rick, go ahead and introduce yourself. Rick, are you there? Rick, are you there?
Yeah, his microphone is detecting something, so.
Yeah, he's unmuted and has permission to speak. I don't know if his own some setting on his computer, maybe. I don't know if you can hear us, Rick. Rick?
There's something faint there. This is Eric. Perhaps if if he's speaking, ask him to raise his hand. That way we know there's a problem.
Well, he raised his hand, so.
Hey,
I see that.
Show the site plan in the meantime.
Sure. I see that. I believe he's working with Doug Saltzgaver on this project. I see Doug's name. I don't know if Doug wants to speak on his behalf.
Is Doug unmuted?
He is now. Well, are you there, Doug? Doug, you've been given permission to speak. You need to unmute yourself.
This is Doug. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Please state your name and your address, please.
Yes, Doug Saltzgaver, Engineering Resource Group, 2413 Grand Avenue, Des Moines. From what I understand, Rick has talked with staff and worked through concerns staff had and finds the recommendations acceptable.
Okay. Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant, have we had any luck? Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this proposal? Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition of the proposal? They have concerns?
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy. I have a Todd Wiskus that indicated he would like to speak.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Please state your name and address.
Todd, there you go.
Okay, Todd Wiskus with Simonson and Associates Architects. Just here on behalf of Mr. Hickman and here to answer any questions you guys may have. I think Greg brought up the, his architectural question regarding the impact. I think, yeah, we've addressed that with staff as well as the kind of context with matching the existing house and the masonry. So as Doug mentioned, we are in favor of the staff report and here to answer any questions. Okay, questions from the commission?
I have a question for Mr. Wiskus, please. This is Will Page here. Todd, on the elevation that we see on the screen, the footprint of the garage looks like it matches the footprint of the house itself. But when we saw a north elevation, it looked like the sides of the garage were set in from that of the house itself. Is that how the garage will be built?
I think our intent will be to set it back a little bit from the garage, from the house face.
That was my question, and I think that the way that it's designed as we see it now makes a lot more sense because the viewer can see that this is actually something distinct from the house itself. And then, so I think that you've come up with a good solution.
Right.
Hey, Doug, Will. This is Greg Wattier. I think it needs to be more than intent. I think it needs to. So hopefully you can make sure and carry that through.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Anyone else who wants to speak? We had asked for opposition of the proposal. Anyone wants to express some concerns?
I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, thank you. It's time to close the public hearing. Discussion from the commission.
This is Francis speaking. I move we adopt staff report.
Thanks, Francis. Any other comments? Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion. Tyler.
Kayla Bergson,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Francis Bogus,
Yes.
Greg Wadier,
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Abby Chungith,
Yes.
Rocky Esposado,
Yes.
Will Page,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Dory Browse,
Yes.
and Jan Freed.
Yes.
Motion carries
Thanks.
14-0. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. We're ready for item number 8. Request from Adam Shaver for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135, sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 3824 Lower Beaver Road to allow construction of a 380 square foot detached garage for a house type B in an N3A neighborhood district to allow waiver of the access to pavement requirements per section 135-6.6.2 and section 135-6.8.6. I think tonight is garage night, huh? Okay. We have Catherine.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Catherine Dreyhaus, planner for the City of Des Moines. As mentioned, this property is located on Lower Beaver, so just north of the intersection of Lower Beaver and Douglas. If you know where the VA is, then you know generally this area. A couple of site photos to give you some context of the property, 3824. And then you can see that they do, of course, have the driveway. It is an unpaved gravel driveway at this time. The applicant, as staff understands the backstory, recently purchased the property and with the intent to do some upgrading by adding a garage. They obtained a home improvement loan from Neighborhood Finance Corporation to build the garage. And of course, staff is always ready to encourage these types of improvements to the property. However, with the update to the zoning, planning, and design ordinance, there is a new requirement intended to ensure quality upgrades to neighborhoods and continuing to uphold neighborhood character that now requires pavement all the way to any garage put into place. The applicant has expressed concerns about the cost of adding the pavement in addition to the cost of adding the garage. You can see, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see the site plan just a bit better. They are looking at placing the garage behind the property in the rear yard, all the appropriate setbacks, and then would have to pave from this point down to this point. And unfortunately, staff did do the analysis of the 250-foot radius around the subject property, and we found that 81% of the properties that fall within that radius do have paved surfacing, and only 6 have other types of surfacing. So staff is unable to support a request for a waiver of the of paving the driveway. I can go through the criteria if you like or need to double check any of that, but at this time staff cannot support that request, so we are recommending denial. We did not receive any cards back, and I can answer any questions for the commission might have for staff at this time.
Questions for Catherine at this time? Okay. Is the applicant online? Please state your name and address. Is the applicant online?
Madam Chair, there's a Stephanie Murphy.
Okay.
Hi, this is Stephanie Murphy. I'm the Executive Director of Neighborhood Finance. And I think that Nick, Dor, and I.
Can you?
Hello?
Yeah, I was just going to say, state your address, please, too.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I live at 3131 Floor in Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
And, I think Nick, I don't know if the applicant wants to talk, just not his thing, but Nick Dor, who has been working with him from our staff, and I are on to address it. Would that be appropriate?
I think so.
Okay. Nick, I think Nick probably is raising his hand. If you want to let him, he was going to speak first. He's more familiar with it.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll sort of follow up. I just didn't, I knew.
Okay, so have him state your name and,
yes.
Please state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Nick Dor, and I'm at 3101 56th Street here in Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Adam's actually online. He can hear everyone, but he's having some difficulties being able to talk. So basically what is happening is Adam came to us in November is kind of when we got this whole loan going. Due to the winter weather and everything, they weren't able to get started on the garage until this spring. It was actually closer to the summer because the contractors and everybody were kind of scared with the COVID going on. So they got started this summer, and that's when we kind of realized that zoning has changed a little bit, that we weren't going to be able to do the garage unless we did the driveway as well. Which his loan wasn't really built out for that we were under the assumption we didn't know what zoning was going to happen. And we're at this point, we're totally in agreement, and we don't want to do anything to go against zoning. It's our policy to follow Des Moines regulations and rules all the way. But it just kind of up on us to this point that now we don't really have any wiggle room to add the concrete into the loan. And Adam doesn't have the funds available personally to do much more. He does plan on doing the garage or the driveway eventually, but he doesn't have that affordability right now. So we are hoping that we can change some minds and at least get a garage put up so that he has somewhere to put his vehicle. At least get his vehicle out of the driveway there. And I hope that we can change some minds.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Or do you want to add to that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to just give a little context. I hope everyone knows about neighborhood finance, but we provide a purchase loan that has the renovation with it. So we built it in, and when we were doing this loan, we knew that there was new zoning coming, but we weren't aware of all the changes. So I just want to make clear that like now this would not happen, but this was back last fall. And so when we build the loan, it has the renovations that are planned on. And like Nick referred to, we don't have any wiggle room. And the specific issue with this loan is that, and others, is that we've sold it to an investor. And basically, we're not only will he not get his garage, but it will impact our ability to raise capital in the future. We have too many loans where we can't get the agreed upon work done. And so that's sort of where our dilemma is. And I just am here to answer any questions about our program. Also, I would say that in the future, once he's lived there for a while and would want to take out another loan, we do have our front porch loan that we can do behind our purchase loan that's for exterior repairs at a lower interest rate. So that would be an option available as well.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Hello, Stephanie. This is Greg Wattier. You actually just mentioned at the end there what I was going to ask you. I knew you guys had programs that sometimes are forgivable, sometimes are just low rates. If I'm not mistaken, you guys usually have boundaries in neighborhoods and areas that they apply. So I was curious what options are available for your applicant to get another loan or something, because I think this is a big deal.
Yeah, and so, generally, as you can know, when somebody has just bought a house, they really don't want to, we hope they don't want to go out and get a lot of other loans. So we haven't encouraged that up to the point, and also often people don't have the equity. But we do have our front porch loan, which is money that's we've raised independently, and so we don't have to have the loan subsidy with it. So that potentially, as well as just a typical home improvement loan or home equity line of credit, could be an option in the future. I understand probably it's not right now because of the equity issue. And now I'm probably talking too much like a lender, sorry.
Thanks.
That's okay. Other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this proposal? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition or express concerns about this item? Okay. Well, it's time to close the public hearing. Discussion from the commission.
Jan, this is Greg Jones.
Yeah, Greg.
I mean, I get why we want to put in paving, but the guy's being penalized for doing the right thing. He's putting up a garage when there is an existing gravel driveway. And so he's putting up a garage and now he's got to pave it. So I think we should give him some slack and let him be gravel for a while. So I'd oppose staff.
Okay. Other comments?
Jan, this is Rocky. I'm sorry. Yeah. Jan, this is Rocky. I'll just real quick. This is definitely a step in the right direction to get the garage built. So I would definitely support Greg's train of thought around, maybe we should cut him some slack.
Yes, and I was actually kind of agreeing this too, just because usually we're trying to encourage people to build garages. So I think this is an unusual, kind of a unique situation. Other comments?
Yeah, a thought I have. I'm kind of feeling the same empathy all you are. But as I look at this Google image, and I don't know if staff has an image, again, they can put up, I think part of the issue with the gravel drive is sort of the unkept nature of the gravel drive. In other words, the grass is growing through it. And or at least it was, I don't know what it is today. So I guess the question I would have is there a minor compromise where there could be some edging to kind of contain, and it could be stone, it could be something simple, and just done neater. Greg Jones, do you think there's a way it could just be kind of cleaned up, tidied up, and we say, hey, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
This is Greg.
Do I have a motion? Okay, go ahead.
Wautier, you want me to say something?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does somebody want to make a motion or?
This is Greg Jones. I'll make a motion that we deny the denial and approve it as requested.
Okay, thank you.
If he edges it somehow.
Could we add that, or do you want to amend something, or? Or maybe just restate what you said.
If I can maybe help with the restating. So you're moving approval of a waiver of the driveway paving subject to provision of an edging or on the for the gravel.
as approved by the planning administrator.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. We have a motion. Tyler?
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Francis Bogus,
Yes.
Greg Wadier,
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Abby Chungith,
Yes.
Rocky Spazzato,
Yes.
Will Page,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Dory Briles,
Yes.
Jan Freed,
Yes?
and Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Thanks, Tyler. We are ready for item number 9, request from Laverne and Maxine Anderson for the following regarding the property 1100 East Marion Street. Determination as to whether the requested rezoning is in conformance with Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan, and rezone property from N3A neighborhood district to a limited NX2 neighborhood mixed district to allow the existing household living dwelling to be used for correctional placement residential use. Bert.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the commission, Bert Ross, planner for the city of Des Moines. The applicant has requested that the single family house at 1100 East Marion Street be rezoned to an NX1 district to in order to legitimize the existing correctional placement residence that use that is occurring there today. The subject property is located on East Marion Street, just to the south of East Watrous Avenue, and it's about 2.5 blocks west of the Southeast 14th major commercial corridor. Here are a couple photos of the house. And back in January of this year, they were issued a notice of violation after it was discovered that the house was being used for the correctional placement residence. And the applicant took their time this year, and they eventually submitted the application here to rezone the property to NX1 district, which is needed to legitimize the use. And I would also mention that if the rezoning would be approved, they would still need to get the conditional use from the city's Board of Adjustment. And here's the letter that the applicant submitted with their application, just describing what they are using the house for. In summary, they're using it for up to 4 women at any time who are on parole. And then this is just an email summarizing their neighborhood outreach efforts. They sent out their letter, but only heard back from the man who lived next door. And I believe that's the same man who submitted this card here in support. And so here's the consent map. The only card came back from that property immediately to the east, which did register in support. Staff took a look at this, and we do not believe that this is the proper location for a correctional placement residence. As you can see on the map, it's located in the heart of a residential neighborhood and away from any transit routes. We feel that this type of use is better suited along a major corridor, or at least near a DART bus stop. So we have recommended denial of the rezoning. And in the recommendation, you'll see Part A. We recommend that the proposed rezoning could be found in conformance with Plan DSM. But I guess just because the rezoning could be found in conformance with the land use plan, that doesn't mean the commission needs to be inclined to support it either. So as you'll see in Part B, we have recommended denial of the request to rezone the property. Were there any questions for me?
Questions for Byrd? Is the applicant online?
I believe we have one hand that is raised from Deb Thieler, and she is the operator of the business. So Deb,
Okay.
you're now able to speak.
Okay, so please state your name and address, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay, my name is Deb Taylor, and I live at 2019 Beaver Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa, 50310. Okay, first and foremost, I am in recovery. I am a registered addiction nurse and worked 15 years at one of the treatment centers, residential treatment centers here in Des Moines. And then I realized when people leave the residential treatment center, if they don't have a different place to go and a safe place to go, it doesn't change anything. First of all, I would like to make sure everybody understands that we are not a correctional facility. We have no ties to the DOC except for a very transparent working relationship. We are a nonprofit. I have an LLC. I am a reentry housing coordinator and have been hired by the Freedom House, which is a faith-based nonprofit. I have been hired by them to run their houses, and I'm running 6 houses currently in the Des Moines area. I actually inherited running the Freedom House on Marion. The man that started the house actually got pancreatic cancer and needed someone to run the houses, and I took over for him. I had no idea there was a zoning issue. I mean, I didn't even know that this was an issue. I will let you know that in all the years that I've been running the house, which is about 18 plus years now, we have never had one complaint. The way I got connected with the zoning people, you guys, was I actually removed a methamphetamine dealer and his girlfriend. I removed his girlfriend from my halfway house in your neighborhood, and he retaliated by calling the zoning people, which now I've met. So I have not tried to, I just want you to understand that had I known that this was something that I needed to do before, I would have done it. We are just a house of 4 women that are sober. All the women that are currently there right now, which there will be one joining us on the line to let you know her relationship with the Freedom House. I will let you know that they are all on parole at this time, but they don't have to be. If a woman called and said, I want to get out of this relationship I'm in, I want to get out of this situation I'm in where everybody around me is using drugs, I would still look at taking that woman. It doesn't mean that the woman has to be on parole or probation. I'm trying to think what else you might want to know. But what I just want to reiterate to you that how I met you guys was removing something that you don't want in your neighborhood and I don't want in mine. Like I said, I am in recovery myself. I have 21 years of sobriety, and that's why what I do is important to me. And I will say that I did receive one call from my neighborhood letters that I put out in great support of us. From the neighbor right next door that has lived with us since we have been, or since even Carol had the house. So that would be like 21 years of no complaints. And I would like to ask Stephanie Becker at this time. Stephanie, are you on the line? If you would push *9 and *6. Stephanie?
Well, let's first see if there are questions for you, okay? From the commission.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we can go to Stephanie, okay?
Okay,
so
that's
questions.
great.
Okay. Questions for the applicant from the commission.
This is Will Page, and I have a real quick question for Mrs. Thieler. The city staff mentioned a concern that the property is distant from public transit. You've had a lot of experience with different houses of this sort across the city. How would you answer their concern?
That's not the case. That we only open houses that are within walking distance to the bus stop and walking distance where no one will get cold and freeze. The bus stop is just up at the corner and around the corner to, I believe, it's right on the corner when you turn, I think it's East 12 or East. You guys would know.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
The bus stop is just right around the corner.
It's on Watrous?
Yes. And the south.
I'm sorry. It's on Watrous and
East, whatever that corner is right there. I can't think what it is right now. I'm sorry. It's right west of the frozen custard. And then there's a beauty salon, and then there's the bus stop, and there's the corner.
At Southeast 13th and Watrous, there's the...
Southeast 13th, yeah. I thought I was 12th, but it's, yep. Okay. Yeah, the public transit is right there.
Thank you. That's answered my question.
Okay, other questions? Other questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll have the next person speak, please. State your name and address.
Yes,
I believe it's Stephanie.
Stephanie?
Hello. Hi, my name is Stephanie Becker, and my current address is 1100 East Marion Street.
Okay.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I first would just like to say that it's actually, the bus stop is on Southeast 12th and Watrous, which is just not even a block away, and I ride the bus, no problem. And second, I'm really bad at public speaking, so I'm sorry. I sound nervous.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
This is my home, and without this, I don't know where I would be. I started a job. I go to work 60 hours a week. I come here, and it's home. The other women that are here have been here for a while, and they're good women. And like I said, I don't know what I would do without it. This is the second time in my life that I have resided here. And last time it got me back up on my feet. I was sober for 5 years after I left here. And like I said, it is a home. It's not a facility where people check in and check out at the door. There's just 4 of us women here trying to do the best that we can. And we don't bother anybody in the neighborhood. We keep the house clean. And I just feel like rezoning it would be the best thing for so many women that I know have come through here. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Stephanie?
Yeah, Stephanie, this is Rocky. How long do you guys stay in the house?
There is no limitation. It's however long, it takes you to get on your feet. Last time I was here for 18 months. My son was able to come and visit on the weekends. And I ended up getting my own place and becoming the GM at Wendy's on East Euclid. And like I said, it was the best 5 years of my life, actually, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Is there anyone else who is here to speak in favor of this proposal? Is there anyone who's here to speak in opposition or to express concerns?
I do not see any, Jen.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's time to close the public hearing. Discussion from the commission.
This is Greg. I have a question for staff.
Sure.
I noticed in your general information section, you talked about if rezoning was denied, that they'd have an option within a year to go after a use variance. I'm just kind of curious. That's actually what I was thinking about too, was a use variance. And if we were to approve as a board the rezoning, are there other uses that new zoning would bring up that would make you concerned?
Well, they're needing NX2 district, which is one of our more intense multifamily residential districts, because the NX2 district is the first district where this type of use is allowed. So I guess if the commission was inclined to grant it, you'd probably want to make it conditional upon any use be limited to a one household dwelling or a correctional placement residence for up to 4 non-related individuals. But I'd also point out that they're going to have to go to the Board of Adjustment regardless. If you approve it tonight, they still have to go to the Board of Adjustment to get a conditional use. And if you deny it, they still have to go to the Board of Adjustment to seek a use variance. So in all honesty, it would be easier for them to get the conditional use from the Board of Adjustment than obtaining a use variance.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question for staff as well. The notices for the neighborhood, did those include the correctional placement language in them?
Yes, they did. The notices would have reflected how it's worded on the agenda, which said it would allow the existing household living dwelling to be used for a correctional placement residence.
Thanks, Bert.
Sure.
I think it's very telling that that's the way that the notices went out, and there were no complaints about it or disagreements about having the proposed use as listed there, even though the applicants have clearly established that it's not a correctional placement facility. So seeing that people are not against this, it makes me feel better about actually approving the request.
Yeah, and in addition to our 2 rounds of public notices, the applicant also mailed out their own letter. So essentially the neighbors all had 3 notices stating it would be a correctional placement residence.
And I think there's also such a long history, which is interesting to me too.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion? Who would like to make a motion?
I can make the motion, Madam Chair. And I would say that the motion would have to be approval of the request from the applicant to a limited NX2 based on the language that Bert used earlier, limiting to the current use with the restrictions of the 4 individuals that are not related.
Okay, do you have that, Tyler?
Yep.
Okay, could you just repeat that for everyone before we vote?
I believe it was motion to approve limited NX2 zoning. The uses would be limited to a 1 household dwelling for up to 4 residents, or 1 household dwelling or a correctional placement residence for up to 4 individuals.
Okay, thank you. Tyler?
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Francis Bogus.
Yes.
Greg Wattier.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
Abby Chungith.
Yes.
Rocky Esposado.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Dory Briles.
Yes.
Jan Freed.
Yes.
Caleb Berkson.
Yes.
And Lisa Howard?
Yes.
That motion carries 14-0.
Thank you, Tyler. We are ready for item number 10. Request from Morgan Maurer for the following regarding the property at 2104 East 21st Street. And Jason.
Chair, members of the commission, Jason Van Essen with the city's planning staff. The application before you includes a land use plan amendment, which would be part B, and then a rezoning, part C, from I-1 industrial district to N3A neighborhood district. This is an aerial identifying the subject property on the west side of East 21st Street. You can see the zoning in the area. Included a aerial kind of pulled back just to provide a little more context to the commission and those in the audience. As we discuss this item tonight, we can come back to any of these maps. This is the future land use plan for the kind of zoomed in for the area. You can see, you see the blue colors, the industrial designation. For the proposed rezoning to be approved, the commission would also have to make a recommendation to the city council to amend this map specific for the property in question tonight from that industrial designation to a residential designation. Photograph of the property. It's a site sketch provided by the applicant. The property had a garage, kind of a oversized one-car garage that was damaged in the storm. The applicant tore the garage down, got a permit for that. And the zoning ordinance, this is a non-conforming use, and so because the garage was destroyed or damaged severely by an act of God, the zoning ordinance would allow that to be reconstructed in the same location with the same footprint. But the applicant would like to do a larger garage. You can see the sketch showing a 24 by 30 footprint. And to do that, that's considered an expansion of a legal non-conforming use, which isn't allowed. And so their first opportunity to get remedy of the situation is to rezone the property. If the property is not rezoned, then their next step for remedy would be to go to the zoning board of adjustment for a use variance, which cannot be sought until rezoning is denied. Copy the staff report. We can come back to anything that's in here at any point if you have any questions. We just highlighted, plan DSM, the future land use map designations, provided a description of those designations, discussed a little bit of the purpose of the different zoning districts, the building typology that those districts allow. And then in the report, we also noted kind of the characteristics of the area, with it being really narrow and in between a large industrial area and the freeway, as part of why the future land use map, when Plan DSM was done a few years back, it showed this area as industrial. And looking at this as staff, there's nothing that we can see that's changed in the last couple of years, the circumstance. And so as a basis for our recommendation, we look at that and we are recommending denial of the request. As I noted, the applicant does have the opportunity to go to the zoning board of adjustment if the city council does deny the rezoning, but to get a use variance and to allow the larger garage to be constructed. The other alternative that a permit could be issued tomorrow for a garage of the same footprint of what was tore down. This is the response map. You can see the notice area, 3 responses back. Also have a letter of support from the neighborhood association for the applicant. It's in the Fairmont Park neighborhood. Show you a couple of the cards. Give you a second to read those. We also had an email. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the commission might have.
Jason, this
questions
is... sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, questions for Jason.
Thank you, Gina. Jason, would any garage in this I-1 district be disallowed for residential use?
Yeah, so the construction of an accessory structure for the residential use is considered an expansion of that non-conforming use. So a permit for any property zone I-1 that has a residential use on it, a permit cannot be issued for a new garage unless it's specific to a situation such as this where, there could be, there's storm damage, there's provisions in the zoning ordinance that allow you to build back matching the footprint of what was there prior. Does that answer your question, Will?
Yeah, it starts to. I have another one, though. The proposed or requested footprint is for 30 feet across the front of the garage. Is that correct?
Yes, 24 feet deep, 30 feet across, yeah. And
you say that would be allowed. Help me out. Does 30 feet get you into a two-car garage?
Yeah, that would be about a 2.5. 24 by 24 is kind of your base for having two-car. But yeah, the one that has been tore down was 14 feet wide by 24 feet deep, is my understanding.
Okay, but the 30 feet would be the problem with all of this, to my thinking, is the zoning of this. If we look at the aerial view of the property, I'd appreciate that on the screen if you would, please.
Sure. Do you want the zoomed in or the
no, I think, yeah, that one's perfectly fine.
Okay.
So the I-1 is to the left, and you can see the residential residential neighborhood to the east, to the right. And these people, for whatever reason now, all of this is zoned, as I understand, in I-1, so that anybody that has the same problem in this neighborhood, which is obviously residential, and it's been residential for a long time, is going to have the same problem facing them that the Mowers do right now. So would, as I understand it, the 30-foot front facade of the garage in a standard residential neighborhood would be okay, but the problem that they face is this very odd, frankly, in my opinion, zoning for I-1. So I hope to find a remedy for them.
Well, this is Mike Ludwig, if I could try and address that. Jason, could you go to the larger land use map? So when we talked about the land use designations as part of Plan DSM, this area actually was discussed at the public hearing regarding the comp plan adoption and the recommendation that the commission made to the council. The original direction that we had on the comp plan was to try and eliminate conflicts between residential and what we knew were going to be sustained and growing industrial areas. Obviously, there had been a lot of discussion prior to Plan DSM about the amount of rail traffic that was increasing on the rail to the west of this house. I'm sorry, yeah, to the west of this house. We obviously had just done some street closures to accommodate that growing rail traffic that ultimately goes up to ADM. And obviously when 235 was rebuilt, it was elevated to go over the railroad tracks so that it was, we weren't having blockages on certain streets. And we had quite a bit of debate about that. So anyway, the direction was to try and eliminate where we had those conflicts. Clearly, I mean, the combination of the railroad, which was ultimately there first, And then the housing that ended up getting split off from the rest of the neighborhood by 235 construction, 60 years ago, left these houses, one house on each side of the street, one width, stuck in kind of a precarious situation with growing industrial to the west of them and bounded by 235 on the east. So we'd recommended industrial. If you look at the very north of that industrial area, you'll see a square kind of yellow residential area that was near Boyd and Morton Avenue. The south boundary was Sheridan, and it went all the way up to Hull Avenue on the north. That area, when we sent out notices about the comp plan, we heard from the Fairmont Park Neighborhood Association concerns. They did suggest that everything from Hull south to Easton be changed back to residential. We went to a neighborhood meeting and discussed that. They came to the Plan and Zoning Commission hearing on the comp plan. They suggested that the entire area be residential. Ultimately, the staff did not recommend that be done. We said the maximum would be basically that square yellow area. And that was ultimately what the Planning Commission recommended to council and ultimately what the council approved. So there was a grouping. Most of the neighbors that came to the hearing were in that yellow area that got changed. But that was the only area that was changed. The rest was left as industrial on the basis that we were trying to eliminate that conflict. We have had discussions about granting additional, latitude or flexibility for residential uses that are non-conforming in an industrial district. Those have been very preliminary discussions by staff. And quite frankly, we cannot process a change for that as quickly as they could seek rezoning, and if denied rezoning, go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a use variance. So when we were presenting them options, the quickest options were to apply for rezoning, and if denied, go for a use variance, because we did not have any direction from a majority of the council to go and amend all of this area. And we did not have direction for an amendment to grant additional latitude for non-conforming residential uses. So not saying those can't be done. They can if we're directed to, but the quickest alternative was to seek a rezoning, and if denied, go to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. Thank
Mike.
you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay. Is the applicant online?
Yeah, if you want to give me a second, I'll give her the ability to speak, and we'll.
Okay.
I don't know if Tyler, if you can try. I'm having troubles with my computer. Could you try? It's Morgan.
So it's saying that she has to be promoted to panelist unless.
Yeah, I thought maybe that was an error with my.
She's using an older version of Zoom, so we could temporarily promote her to panelist to allow her to speak.
Yeah, I'm getting the same options.
Okay, then let's go ahead and put her as a panelist.
Now she has to
Can you hear me?
herself. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, I didn't realize I was using an old Zoom.
No, that's okay. Please state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Morgan Maurer, and I live at 2104 East 21st Street in Des Moines. And I am here for pretty much everything you guys said. I just wanted to clarify, the gentleman that spoke before, that the garage isn't 30 wide in the front. It's actually 24 wide in the front and then 30 deep. Our lot is very long, so that just made more sense. What I'm hoping to do today or tonight, I guess, is to you know, we moved into this house as first-time home buyers in 2018, and as a new home buyer, I knew nothing about looking up plan DSM or any of that. But to me, I'm actually sitting here with my neighbor right now in my house, and we love this neighborhood. And, you know, looking up and down our street, it is residential, and I understand, you know, the plan for the future is to be industrial, but that plan really hurt us and my neighbors, because we do take pride in our homes, and all we want to do is, you know, upgrade them and make them nicer and more livable. And that's just what I'm hoping to do here is, you know, upgrade our house. So if there is more questions for me, I'm glad to answer them. But
sure. Questions for Ms. Mauer from the commission? Okay. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the applicant of this item?
We have a hand raised with the phone number, so we'll go ahead and give them permission to speak, but they'll need to give us their name.
Okay.
So 515-208-9532.
They have to press *6 to unmute.
Yeah.
Looks like you're okay. Jeff Whitty, 2501 Morton Avenue. I'm president of Fairmount Park Neighborhood Association.
Okay. And just state your address, please.
Oh, 2501 Morton Avenue.
Correct. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Hey, this is all new to me, all right? So, first of all, I want to thank you tonight for hearing this, and I hope you can help this young lady out. When Mr. Ludwig was talking, and I don't know how many of you were on the board at the time when Fairmount Park came in there was 3 areas that you guys voted to stay the same. There was a part in Chesterfield and Martin Luther King Neighborhood Association, and then the Hall Avenue south all the way to Easton was involved in this. And you voted to keep it all the same. And this has been about 3 or 4 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. Time flies so fast that I have a hard time understanding how fast it goes. But the thing that I really want to say is, you know, they kept telling us, you know, hey, everybody had letters. Everybody got a letter on this. Well, in December, guess what? I didn't get it. I get a letter every week from you guys, you know, saying, giving everything that's going to go on. But I never received anything, and none of the residents in that area received anything. But this, to me, seems like this is kind of like a thief in the night coming in, and all of a sudden stealing all your stuff, and then they say, "Oh, Merry Christmas," since it was in December. You can't do anything to your house. To me, that seems a little bit odd. So I'm going to ask you guys to please vote yes on this. Let's get this going for her. And then we can get it going for the rest of the neighborhood. But this is a neighborhood. As you can see, I can't zoom. I don't know what I did wrong, but they gave me a link, and I still can't get on it. But to see what was there. But if you look at this, you can see it's clearly a neighborhood. It isn't industrial. And by the way, you know, when you're talking industrial, when you look up there in Hall Avenue, you know, we've lost quite a few places up there. Bowerville, they went and they moved out to the county. The property taxes are outrageous. That's why these people are moving. We don't need more industrial. And if they want to increase their house value and pay more property tax, that's what we're here for. I gotta say, please help this young lady out in the neighborhood and vote to deny the denial here and give her the zoning. it's a no-brainer in my thoughts anyway. And I kind of believe just what I've listened to, just a few people. I think you guys are all in that same category. I believe that you want to help people out. You know, we're Des Moinesians, and Des Moinesians help people out, help each other out. And I think we need a little help over here. So please help us out, would you?
Okay, thanks, Mr. Whitty. Questions for Mr. Whitty from the commission? Is there anyone else wants to speak in favor? Anyone else online who wants to speak in opposition or express concern? Okay, it's time to close the public hearing. Time for discussion from the commission.
Jan, this is Greg Jones.
Yeah, Greg, go ahead.
You know, I was involved in the comprehensive plan update years ago, and I do remember this, and I remember this area specifically. And it was a conundrum because it is a tight-knit little residential area. However, it does abut the industrial and it abuts the interstate, and so it's a tough thing. And I'm sympathetic with the property owner, and as long as there's a way, I don't think we should change the zoning on this one house unless we go back and look at it and change it for all of the houses that have the same condition. So in the short term, I don't think we should approve the zoning, but I think we should encourage the zoning board of adjustment to grant the use variance when they come in and ask for it. So with that said, I'd make a motion to move staff, but hope the zoning board of adjustment helps them out.
Okay, I hear your motion. Do you want to make it stronger instead of, I mean, can we do that?
I move staff. How much stronger do you want it?
Well, no, I meant with the other commission.
We're not the board of adjustment. We can't make them do anything.
No. Okay.
Jan, this is Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky.
I'd just like to share that I support the rezoning. I think that we have an opportunity to set the precedent here and give staff some direction that, you know, they need to take another look at this and, give other homeowners an opportunity to be able to rezone and be able to invest in their house and put up garages. So I'm definitely not in support of the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Jan, this is Will Page here, and yeah. with great respect to Greg, I really do feel that we need, this property owner is in a very peculiar situation, and I feel that we really do need to give them relief in this matter. And to ask them to go to Zoning Board of Adjustment when we don't really know what the Zoning Board of Adjustment actually is going to do, I think is a disservice to these people that want to improve their project and their property. I know that Greg has made a motion. If there'd been more chance to have discussion, I think that we could have discussed it a little.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm wondering, Greg, would you want to withdraw your motion? Otherwise, we can vote on it and see how it turns out, and then we could have another one.
Let's vote on it and see how it turns out.
Okay. All right.
I think we have a document that we worked on for a long time, and we didn't do it willy-nilly. This is one of the things that comes out at the end. But they do have something they can do. They can go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And so to spot zone a tiny little bit of this, even though I agree, Rocky, we need to start somewhere. Where we need to start is the council needs to direct somebody to do so. And maybe they can do that when they see what what this does when it comes before them, but I'd like to see what the vote does.
Okay, all right. Other discussion before we vote? Okay, Tyler?
Steve Wallace?
No.
Carolyn Jennison?
What is the motion? Where are we at again? What is the motion again? So he's supporting staff, correct, Greg?
Yeah.
You're supporting staff? So I'm going to support Greg's motion.
Okay. Francis Bogus?
No.
Greg Wattier?
Yes.
Greg Jones?
Yes.
Abby Chungith?
Yes.
Rocky Spozzato?
No.
Will Page?
No.
Johnny Alcivar?
No.
Emily Webb?
No.
Dory Browse?
No.
Jan Freed?
No.
Kayla Berkson?
No.
And Lisa Howard?
No.
So that motion is denied 4-10.
Okay, thank you. We're ready for item 11.
No, we got to take another vote, don't we, Jan?
Yeah, we can. We haven't.
Jan, someone else. This is Glenna with the legal.
Glenna, go ahead. I'm not hearing anything. Are the rest of you?
No.
No.
Yeah, I think Glenn must have cut out. I don't know if.
I don't know if I was unmuted.
We need another motion.
Glenn is here.
Yeah, okay.
You've said what I was going to say. Someone else can make another motion if they would so choose.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Will Page here.
Yes.
I would move the staff recommendation Part A. I would change Part B to recommend approval of amending the Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow plan future land use designation from industrial to low density residential. And then I would delete Part C from staff recommendation.
Okay.
Well, I don't think you can delete Part C. I think you would have to recommend approval of the rezoning.
Correct. And this is, again, Glenna Frank with the legal department. That's correct. And you would want to, if there are going to be any conditions related to the rezoning, you would need to state those as well.
I have no conditions, but I go along with what you suggested for the Part C language.
So again, the motion would be approval of Part A. Part B is a change. You're actually recommending approval of the land use plan amendment. And Part C would be a change. You're recommending approval of the zoning change.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion. Tyler?
Lisa Howard?
Yes.
Kayla Berkson?
Yes.
Jan Freed?
Yes.
Dory Browse?
Yes.
Emily Webb?
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar?
Yes.
Will Page?
Yes.
Rocky Spozzato?
Yes.
Abby Chungith?
No.
Greg Jones?
No.
Greg Wattier?
No.
Francis Bogus?
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison?
No.
And Steve Wallace?
Yes.
Motion carries 10-4.
Thank you, Tyler. We're ready for item number 11. Request from RM Madden Construction, represented by Michael Madden, for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for a type 2 design alternative. Eric.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy, Senior City Planner. I'll try to go quick on this. This is a similar item to something you've seen before, but I will try to sort of distinguish how it might be a little different than the others that you have seen. The applicant is the builder in this case and the owner of the property of 3423 Wright Street. This is the parcel you can see in the center of the map. Site shots showing, it looks like they've got a little soil erosion protection socks in place at the moment. So it sits between two other existing homes. This is a site plan of their proposed house construction. They're showing the concrete driveway, so they are planning to pave the driveway regardless of garage in this case. One thing you should note is that they do have the ability then to extend that back so that a garage of minimum size could be built in the rear yard. This is the elevation of the house that was submitted with the building permit. In the staff report, you can read up on a couple of the type 1s that were granted for approval of the house construction, but they're not under consideration. You have your staff report. I'm going to focus on page 5. You'll see here that an analysis was done with regard to the amount of garages. This is where it might be a little different than a few you've seen more recently. I think it's a little stronger in that 26 out of 34 parcels located within 250 feet provided the garage. I think some of the ones in the past that you've looked at have been right on that borderline. Staff is based on that analysis and the predominance of garage. Staff is recommending denial of the type 2 design alternative. This is a graphic representation. The green diamonds represent properties providing the garages. Again, you'll notice the vacant properties, by the way the code's written, are presumed to have garages when they develop, so they're counted in that total of the number of providing garages. We did not get any written responses in favor or opposition to this. Are there any questions at this time?
Questions for Eric? Is the applicant online?
I bought this for my grandma.
Eric, this is Johnny Alcivar. Is the proposed house providing a basement or, no, I shouldn't say or, a basement and a shed?
Let me go back to the site plan here. They're not showing a shed on the site plan. They are showing a patio, so I don't believe that there's anything necessarily proposed for the shed. I believe there is a basement. You can also ask the applicant that question.
Okay, is the applicant online?
Yep, I'm here.
Please state your name and address.
Yep, my name is Michael Madden. Address is 5909 Grand Avenue in Des Moines.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I attached a couple things. One of the things I sent in earlier was a small map of what you showed before with a list of running numbers of all the assessed values. To make my point, the average of the assessed values in a 250-foot radius is $83,000. The house we're proposing to build is $190,000, roughly. So as you can see, there's quite a big difference in that, in those two numbers. And to keep our house fitting in with values and getting people to look at it and potentially buy the house, we want to keep that number as low as possible. And speaking with our #1 real estate agent, we have a similar situation at 1156 West Street on the south side of Des Moines, where we were required to build a garage, a little bit nicer area, higher values. So we thought we could make it work and still sell the house promptly because there's a high demand for this house plan. And we do hit a price point that a lot of other builders in the city don't hit. And we have found out that that house is not sold yet. It's about a couple weeks away from completion. And in talking with that agent, she really put a big emphasis on the fact that if that garage was not built, someone could have come in with the funds, purchased it, and put their own sweat equity into it, which is what we do for a lot of people, is give them the opportunity to buy new construction and make upgrades, make changes that they want to really get the equity out of it. But in requiring a garage, they are not able to do that. They're having to pay up front, and it puts a lot of people out of contention of purchasing the house.
Okay. Questions from Mr. Madden from the commission?
Mr. Madden, this is Greg Wattier. Two questions. One, are you building a basement? And two, would you consider building a shed? I think we have requirements, or not requirements, sorry, but guidelines on building a shed with the intent it's not about putting a car in, but it's all the sort of yard items that someone might have.
There is a full basement unfinished with bathroom stubs and egress for someone to finish in the future. We did consider a shed, but it came down to the same point as the garage, obviously less drastic if you did a shed, but just wanting the potential homeowner to be able to put in that sweat equity to make it work and get the house at a lower price point so more people would be able to purchase it.
Other questions for Mr. Madden? Is there anyone else online who would like to speak in favor of the proposal?
One other point I wanted to make was I know you guys mentioned before you turned it over to me that there has been a lot of other cases like this with certain percentages. Obviously, I'm up there with the 70% of garages around, but I spoke with Lance Hansen with NFC this week, and in the past he's had 2 garages required that staff recommended not to allow him not to build a garage, so they were going to require it, and he still got those overturned. Obviously different situations, but I do think that there is a point to be made with that.
Okay, other questions? Is there anyone else online who'd like to speak in favor of this proposal? Is there anyone online who'd like to voice some concerns? Okay, time to close the public hearing. Discussion.
This is Greg Wattier. I just offer a thought to the board as we're discussing. I think I've probably said this before when other applicants have asked for this waiver. You know, I live in South Beaverdale on a street that has values that are a little higher than this particular street, and probably a third of the homes do not have garages. Just a lot of these older neighborhoods, that's a struggle, and they just didn't have them. And always pros and cons. I think ultimately the point is to continue to build homes in Des Moines and raise property values. I think that's a huge piece. So I don't know that I personally put a ton of stock in having to have a garage. I sort of feel like the market more often than not should dictate that. If somebody wants to buy a home without a garage and they keep their yard neat and tidy and don't get zoning enforcement issues, yeah, go blow the snow off your car if that's what you want to do. So I don't know that I have, I know the code requires it, but I don't know that I have a huge dog in that fight. So I just wanted to share that.
Thanks, Greg. Other comments?
This is Will, and for my 2 cents, if you have a basement, you can always build a garage later on. If you have a garage and you don't have a basement, you're out of luck.
Thank you. Other comments? Does someone want to make a motion?
I have a comment as well. I agree with the two comments that have been shared so far. And I do see some of the points about, establishing a precedent with previous decisions. And along those lines, the thing that comes to mind is, first of all, affordability and the opportunity for home ownership opportunities for new homeowners. But just thinking about some of the projects that, for example, like Habitat for Humanity brings in front of us, and we go through through a similar process, and we do request that shed to be provided at, in addition to the basements that they do. So I would be in support of the request as long as perhaps we can get the applicant to commit to a small shed as well.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion, Johnny?
Sure. I would make a motion to approve the request for the type 2 design alternatives subject to the provision of a small shed.
Okay, thank you.
Johnny, this is Greg, how do you put guidelines or requirements on the size and type?
I would suggest following the code.
Staff do that, following the code as Mike just mentioned. However, they do that with Habitat for Humanity homes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to be consistent with Habitat for Humanity because it's kind of a similar situation. But okay, so we have a motion. Tyler?
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Dory Browse.
Yes.
Jan Freed.
Yeah.
Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Francis Bogus.
Yes.
Greg Wattier.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
Abby Shungith,
Yes.
Rocky Sposato,
Yes.
and Will Page.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Thanks, Tyler. Other items. I've got a few things, but Mike, do you have a director's report or anything you want to share?
We do not this evening, Jan.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I just wanted to say sorry again. I apologize for my technical difficulties. I just could not get in, and staff was very helpful with that. We tried many things, so thank you. It worked with my phone. I wanted to say thank you to Dory for being a pinch hitter, as you know, ASAP. So thank you, Dory. I'm sure you did a great job. I couldn't hear anything during then, but I'm sure you did a great job. So thank you, Dory. And I wanted to congratulate Emily Webb. Emily Webb got elected to the Broadlawns board. And Emily, I think, if I read it right, because it was right before the meeting, I think you unseated an incumbent, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I wanted to say, Emily, congratulations. That's a big deal. So we're proud of you. And then, Mike, so Emily, congratulations. And Mike, did you want to say anything about the sidewalk committee? Have you guys had a chance to meet?
Yes, Jan, thank you for the reminder. Will, I apologize, I forgot about that. We did have a meeting with the committee, and staff is going back and looking at some different options. The legal department was going to review some options on whether we could require some sort of escrow agreement or petition waiver agreement that would allow a deferral for a period of time on sidewalks in certain situations. So we were going to research those a little bit more and get back to them, to the committee. And I think we promised within about maybe a month, 6 weeks is what we said. So we're still working on that as staff, but I think we had a lot of good discussion, and Will, maybe you can share, but I think it was recognized, and Greg, I think you were there as well. We are challenged a little bit in how we have to address this.
Okay, and Johnny's also going to be on it.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. Anything else? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, Dory.
You bet, Jan. Anytime.
Okay, bye-bye.
Congratulations, Emily.
Congrats, Emily.